Hi, I'm John Borland.
And I'm Jo Clark.
Welcome to That One Word Podcast.
And today's word is worry. Yeah,
Worry, Joe.
worry.
Yeah, why have you picked worry?
Well, I've spent the last 20 odd years training people how to lead a stress-free life. And I think so many people are so worried much of the time that leads to them missing out on their life. And I think that is so sad. So I thought it'd be really good to have a discussion with you about worry, what you think it is, what I think it is, what we can do about it, how we might alleviate people of that worry that they carry around so much of the time.
Does it feel like it's on the increase? Like, I don't know whether we are or not, but are we more worried now? Or is the generation below me more worried than my generation? Or is it just that we talk about it more? Or because sometimes I don't know whether it's like actually there's more people worried or whether it's just it's spoken about more or...
Well, we probably know more about people worrying because they share it
Right,
on social media. So
yeah.
certainly we probably didn't have an awareness of how much people were worrying.
Yeah.
Are people worrying more? It feels like there's a lot more to worry about.
Right.
And certainly we go through periods, don't we, in our history where there are, real huge life events that will preoccupy people. Whether or not they should is a different matter altogether. But so I think perhaps the fact we talk about it more makes it feel like it's more prevalent.
Yeah.
Probably has always been there. But then you've got to think about that British stiff upper lip thing where no one shares how they're feeling. So,
And pretending, yeah.
and they're pretending everything's fine, but they're absolutely frantic underneath.
Yeah, because when things are on the rise, not when things feel like they're on the rise,
Yeah.
I often think, weirdly, menopause feels like it's on the rise, and it clearly isn't,
no.
because every woman that's ever lived and got to menopause has had menopause.
Yeah.
But because it's talked about more,
Yeah.
it almost feels like it's more prevalent, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
So sometimes I think we think things are worse, or there's more of it than, but maybe it's just that it's being spoken about. What's the difference between, because I need to know this for myself and clear this up because there's a bit of confusion for me.
Yeah.
What's the difference between worry and anxiety? Because anxiety, again, when I was a kid in the 80s and a teenager in the 90s, I don't think I ever remember anybody talking about anxiety as a thing.
No.
And yet it feels like it's talked about lots now. What's the distinction between the two?
It's a really interesting question. And I think sometimes people think that we worry about specific things, but anxiety is a bit more general.
Right. Yeah, that's what I would have thought.
Maybe. But we can worry about general things. We can just have a general sense of worry. I wonder, it's almost like an escalation. So what might start off as a worry becomes a major anxiety. Obviously, if you're looking for diagnoses, which I have to say I'm really anti, but there is a thing called generalised anxiety disorder where somebody might just have this general feeling of anxiety all the time. But at the bottom line, whatever you call it, whether you call it anxiety or worry or stress or burnout, the reality is it feels crap.
Right.
So I think it's really, really important to try and understand more about where it comes from, why we do it, what purpose it serves, if any, and how we can stop it.
I think I used to really struggle with it and really struggle with it to the point of, and we can talk about this in a bit, but like almost catastrophic thinking. Do you know where I would get hold of one little thing in my brain and it would escalate and escalate. And I would refer to it now as almost the chicken licking effect, the whole...
The sky's falling in.
Yeah, it gets hit on the head by an acorn, sky's falling in, panics about stuff. That really resonates with me. So I would get hold of one little thing in my life, I don't know, like I call my wife, can't get hold of her, call her again, can't get hold of her, don't know why she's not answering. Yeah. Then my brain goes, oh, she's dead in a ditch somewhere. And it doesn't stop there then. Then I start going, I'm going to have to raise the kids by myself. I won't be able to work. I'll lose my house.
So I shouldn't be smiling. This is horrible.
But by the time my brain's finished, if I let it run away with itself, I'm now living homeless on the streets by myself. My kids have been took off of me and my wife's dead. Yeah. And all that comes from, I've rung her and she happens to be in Morrison's without a phone on her. That's it.
Yeah, and it's absolutely catastrophic. Negativity bias, we call that. And we're all a bit susceptible to it because historically... as humans, it was probably quite handy to be looking for the negative risk in order that we could mitigate it.
Yeah, kept us alive.
Yeah, but I mean, nowadays, actual risk is minimal compared with historically when we were, at risk from wild animals and poisonous things and things like that. We don't have that risk anymore.
Yeah.
But interestingly, sort of physiologically, we're wired in just the same way as we were as, humans or whatever we were all those thousands, millions of years ago. So we have the same wiring, so we have the same impact. We just find different things to worry about. And most of what we worry about isn't real. It's just in our imagination, as you have just so eloquently described.
Yeah.
It's a story in our head, which is fascinating.
But then we get the same physical response, the
Absolutely.
same emotional response, as if we're being chased by a bear.
Yeah.
But actually all that's happened is I've rung my wife and she's not answering the phone.
She's not answered the phone. Yeah. And when you speak it out loud like that, it sounds crazy, doesn't it?
Ridiculous.
But in your head, because it's in your head, it's got to be real. So it feels really weird, really real to you.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you mentioned the menopause, actually, because there's definitely indications that women become much more anxious through the menopause. Not all women. It doesn't hit all women. But there's almost certainly a hormonal component to worry or to anxiety at various times. So it's interesting that you talk about various times in your life. I have no idea about the role of testosterone, but certainly the decline in some of female hormones amplifies anxiety for them.
Does this happen for teenagers as well then? Or?
Probably, because I mean, all the whole menstrual cycle thing is hell, and mood is really impacted.
Right.
Although I did have a massive argument with my guru around stress and worry, a wonderful chap called Dr. Derek Roger, and most of what I'll talk about in this podcast I need to credit to him, because he taught me. But we did nearly fall out when I said to him, what about hormones for women? He said, it makes no difference. And then proceeded to tell me about an experiment they did where they controlled for the period of time in the menstrual cycle.
Yeah,
so I'm like, of course they make a difference, and you're not a woman, how would you know?
Yeah.
Which was my response to him, because you do feel it.
So where's the good worry or good stress? A bit like his worry.
Oh, don't make me bristle.
Maybe good worry and good stress are two completely different things. I don't know. But is there a good bit to it?
No. Absolutely. Well, in terms of worry, if we're going to call worry, stress, anxiety, let's just lump it all together.
Okay,
and call it worry. Psychologists can be really unhelpful, and I know because I'm one of them. We talk about good stress and bad stress and distress and eustress and all sorts of different types of stress.
Because I would have talked about good stress. Yeah. I would say, I've got a good bit of stress now.
Yeah. Okay. So let's banish that thought from ever being amplified again in your head. Okay?
Right. Okay. Right.
Okay. Yeah. So let's think about how it feels to be stressed. And anyone listening, you're going to think about how it feels to be stressed. And I can't read your minds, but you're going to come up with words like anxious, angry, frustrated, irritable, distracted, not eating, not sleeping, drinking too much, maybe resorting to drugs, fidgeting, heart palpitations. Yeah? Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
What's good about any of that?
Right.
Nothing. And even when people talk about good stress and you ask them what stress feels like, they never come up with anything good. And in fact, stress can kill you. And we know that from experiments. I think when people are talking about good stress, what they're really referring to are things like anxiety. Thinking about, I've lost my words.
Like excitement.
Enthusiasm, excitement, engaged, all those kind of quite good feelings that we get when we're under pressure.
Yes.
Now, pressure's great, and we are all under it all of the time.
Yeah.
There's, apart from when we're sleeping, unless we're having a nightmare, there's not really a time when we're not under pressure. So, the alarm clock goes off in the morning, you're under pressure to get up.
Yeah.
I looked at my map this morning to drive to this venue, and it had said an hour yesterday, and this morning it's an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So the pressure's on. Okay. So, but pressure's great. We might feel it physiologically. I'm sure, thinking about your history playing football.
Yeah.
You're about to go out for a match, or even now coaching.
Yeah, excited.
How does it feel?
Yeah.
Yeah. How would you describe it physiologically?
So I would link it to nervousness.
Yeah.
But it's not worry.
Okay.
So that's where the distinction is.
So how do you describe it?
Butterflies.
Yeah. That's adrenaline.
But,
great.
Yeah, but nervous, but buzzing a little bit.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So I know this in my life. Yeah. Like even now, I will leave things till the last minute. Yeah. Because I like.
You like the pressure.
Yeah. I used to I still like winging stuff. Yeah. Like I love it when I'm like, but I only like winging it when I know I can do it.
Yeah.
I don't like winging it when I know I can't do it.
Yeah.
So there's almost a bit of that. But I wouldn't do something too early because there's not enough.
Yeah.
I would have called it stress.
Right.
But it's probably not stress. There's not enough pressure. There's not enough excitement.
Yeah.
So my creative brain kicks in.
Yeah.
I like the thrill of that.
Yeah.
So that's where, I'm making the distinction now. What I'm describing is an excited pressure or a thrill.
Yeah. It's like doing this. Doing this podcast. We've done no planning, no preparation. We're just sitting down together.
Yeah, but I like that,
and we love it. Both of us do because we
yeah.
respond really well to pressure. Yeah. So that's really great. Now, what would happen if it became stressful? Is we would probably freeze. We would look anxious.
Yeah.
We'd probably keep asking for a cut because we're not saying the right thing. But as it is, we both really thrive on pressure.
Yeah.
So the question is, what turns pressure into stress?
But I'm not worrying about this.
No.
At all. I'm not worried. Sat here now.
And there's
I'm not
a reason
why
you're not worried, because it's thinking about what turns that pressure into stress. And there's only one thing. Now, people will say, well, pressure becomes stress when you're overloaded or something goes wrong or it's not going the way I want it to go. And they'll say, then it becomes stressful. They say, well, this happens all the time. We get overloaded. There's a traffic jam. I don't get here in time, whatever. The traffic jam isn't what's making me stressed. The only thing that's making me stressed is my thinking.
Yes, agree.
And knowing that, it's like developing a superpower, because the only person in control of your thinking is you.
Yeah.
So when your wife's not answering the phone, your mind is going, oh my God, something awful's happened.
Yeah.
And your mind starts creating all these stories, because nature abhors a vacuum. You know, so if our head isn't filled with something sensible, well, fill it with a load of rubbish.
Yeah.
So here you are not knowing, and so you're making up a story, and it happens to be a horror story.
Yeah.
But basically all our mind is full of is story. Sometimes it's a nice story, so we're telling ourselves, oh, this is really exciting, this is really fun, I'm really enjoying it, I wonder what John's going to say next, I wonder if I'll be able to answer it.
Change the story.
Yeah.
You completely change the physical response and reaction.
Change the
and
narrative.
That's where my story
yeah.
at times is like, oh, this is exciting, oh, how thrilling.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
rather than, oh, my life, this is going to go completely wrong, this is a disaster. And I think that's what I've learned to do over the years. So that's where I think my worry has lessened, and my sense of thrill and excitement in life has grown. But it's the same events.
It's this and physiologically the reaction is the same in our system. So how we label it is really important. If we label it as anxiety or worry or stress, it will be anxiety, worry or stress. If we label it as excitement. However, I can actually feel people saying, it's not that easy to not worry. How can you say, you just, change your thinking? Because it's hard.
What was helpful for me, definitely, when I look back on this again, was the discovery or the revelation for me. It wasn't new because it's been around for thousands of years, this thinking. But for me, it was new, is that my thoughts are not real, as in they're just thoughts.
Yeah.
And this thing that's now been called metacognition.
Yeah, thinking about thinking.
Yeah, the ability to observe your own thoughts, which I just thought everybody could do.
Yeah.
So I genuinely I can't ever remember not being able to observe my own thoughts. There's always been the me that's thinking, and it would almost feel like it's at the front of my mind.
Yeah.
And then right at the back of my mind, there's like an observer that can observe me thinking. So the ability to do that for me and be able to go, oh, I've just had a thought about this. It's only a thought. Like that phrase rattles in my head all the time. Like, it's only a thought.
Yeah.
You've just had a thought.
Yeah.
That's been incredibly helpful.
It's a superpower. It's an actual human being superpower to be able to do that. And we can all learn it.
Yeah, I didn't realise that what I was doing previously was I'd have a worrying thought.
Yeah.
And then I would almost attach to the worrying thought and escalate it.
Yeah.
And escalate it to the point where I'm like absolutely bricking myself about something.
Yeah. That hasn't even happened.
That's not isn't going to happen. No. Probably isn't going to happen. No. Now, sometimes we do worry about things that might happen, but they're not happening now.
They're not happening now. So
they're not happening now.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing, isn't it? Worry's this future thing. Unless you're being chased by a grizzly bear or you're in...
Well, then it's fight or flight. So that's survival. So that's a bit different.
But it's always
Yeah.
a future thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're worrying about something that might happen.
Yeah, we can get preoccupied with worry about the past as well, but that generally
Okay.
leads to more sort of depressive thoughts. It's more like, oh, if only I hadn't said that, or if only I'd done
okay.
something different, or
Yeah.
whatever. That may be more related to
Like a
depressive thoughts than anxious thoughts.
Like
but
a regretful thing almost.
yeah. But nearly all worry is about something in the future that hasn't happened. It's
Right.
just a story
Right.
in our head. So I've got a lovely story to tell you actually about our girls had gone off to university. A group of us mums, the girls were 18, so we're talking nearly 10 years ago. They'd gone off to university. We thought we'd go out to dinner together because we had some freedom. I'm like celebrating, growing my daughter up. Yay, she's gone. The other 3 mums I was with were all really sad because they were, having a horrible time. And one of the mums had told a story to us about her following her daughter on Snapchat. So I think Snapchat is still a thing, isn't it? I'm far too old for Snapchat. But anyway, it's got a GPS thing on it and you can see where your
location.
child's emoji is. And her daughter had gone to uni. She opened Snapchat and her daughter's emoji is in the middle of a river. And literally, she's telling us this story. I know. Well, I laughed.
Yeah.
I'm not a very sympathetic psychologist, am I? Faster than the speed of light, she is identifying her daughter's body in the mall because she's drowned in the river. So she's telling us this story. I'm laughing my head off. And I said, well, did you ring her? And she said, I did. And I said, was she furious with you? Because, you're 18, you've just gone off to university. You don't want your mum ringing you every 5 minutes. So she was furious. And I said, and what was actually happening? And she said she was on a riverboat with a party, having the best time.
Yeah.
But the story doesn't end there. I went home. I had my daughter on Snapchat. I'd never checked. It's 11:30 at night. And I think, I'll see where Maddie is. So I opened Snapchat. Now, the thing about this, and I probably need to preface this with all the training that I've had, okay? So I knew what I was doing. I was wide awake and aware of what I was doing. I opened Snapchat. My daughter's emoji is in the middle of the woods in Durham. It's 11:30 at night. It's pouring with rain. And that's what I see. Now, my mind straight away has gone to something hideous. And remember, I worked in prisons for 25 years. So the worst possible scenario ran through my head. But because I was wide awake and I knew what I was doing, and I don't mean wide awake as in, oh, I'm wide awake.
You were aware.
Aware. I laughed at myself and I thought, do you know what? That totally serves you right. Okay. I thought about ringing her and I thought, what a hypocrite that made me. And then I also thought, if she doesn't answer the phone, I'll be even more worried. The chances statistically of anything horrible happening to her are tiny.
Yeah.
So I went to bed and I went to sleep.
Yeah.
Now people say to me, how on earth did you do that? I would have been out of my mind with worry. And when we're out of our minds with worry, we're pretty crazy. And somebody said, why didn't you ring the police? And I said, so think about what I'm going to say to them. My daughter's Snapchat emoji is in the middle of this woods. Would you please go and make sure she's okay? The first thing they're going to say is, are you out of your mind, woman? We've got better things to do. She's probably out with her friends. Because they're not attached to her, because it's not their daughter.
Yeah.
Anyway, I went to sleep because I've had years of training, and we should talk about that, how you train yourself not to worry, because I think that's really important for people. And the next morning she rang me and she told me what a great night they'd had. They found the off licence. That triggered a whole load of other ruminative, horrible thoughts. And she was fine. Now, even there's not the end of the story, because what's really interesting is I have her on Find My Phone now. If I can locate her in a place that I know, like her halls of residence or her current living accommodation, my mind goes, oh, she must be fine. But I have no more evidence that she's fine in her house than I have that she was in trouble in the woods in Durham.
Yeah.
None at all.
Yeah.
It is all just story.
Made up.
Made up.
Yeah.
Her phone might be in her house, she might not be.
Yeah.
There might be an intruder in her house, there might not be, But how I manage my mind around recognising the story is so, so important.
Yeah.
To survival and thriving.
Yeah, totally agree.
Because those stories are so powerful.
Massive. And recognising that they are made up. And I think recognising that of all the bad things that have ever happened to me in my life, the negative things, I don't think I worried about any of them.
No.
They just happened.
Yeah.
Do you know, there's not a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not a thing. And the things I've worried about
don't happen.
Yeah,
Mark Twain said that, didn't he?
Yeah.
All the things I've ever worried about never happened.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly that. Interestingly, my friend sent me a message about a month ago, a text message. I've been chatting with her about booking a holiday, and she has a fear of flying. And she texts me to say, right, I'm going to book which one of these airlines, I think it was Ryanair and EasyJet, which one is least likely to fall out of the sky.
Oh, God, can you imagine living like that?
Wow, neither. Like, absolutely neither.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
But that story creates complete anxiety and worry and stress.
Stops her travelling.
Stops you travelling, restricts you.
Imagine.
And I remember years ago flying back from, I think it was the first time I'd ever flown alone. I was maybe 19 or 20 and I was flying back from America. And I remember getting on a plane and I was people sat either side of me. And I was a little bit nervous about flying in them days. I hadn't flown a lot. In fact, the first time I flew was on this...
the unknown, of course.
Yeah.
Nature balls of vacuum.
First time I flew for a football tour. I was 17. I'd never flown. We'd never been abroad on holiday as a kid. And we flew on this propeller plane that only had sort of like 2 seats either side. It wasn't quite Indiana Jones.
I hate those.
Yeah, it wasn't quite Indiana Jones, but it was tiny. And nobody told me about the noises. So when you take off and then it just went, and then there's silence. And I was like, I think he stalled it. Like, we're going to die. So my first experience of flying was like, I was full of worry. So I used to have a fear of flying anyway. I fly back from the States and I remember this really struck me. I had a lady to the left of me and I think he was like a businessman guy to the right. I can't remember. And we fly on this 9-hour flight. And it was like they'd put us in order because the lady to the left was an absolute wreck. She was panicking, like you could grip in the seat. And the guy to the right just watched some films, had a nice meal, had a glass of wine. He was so chilled. And I was somewhere in the middle of this. And it really struck me that we've had the exact same journey, but completely different, because in turbulence I was a bit like, he wasn't bothered at all. She was an absolute state, crying at times, really struggling. I felt really sorry for her.
Awful.
But we've had the same journey,
the
exact same experiences. And that was the first time I was like, oh, hang on a minute. I'm making this up. Do you know, like I am completely, and it took me a while. It really did take me a while to kind of get over my fear of flying. But my fear of flying is only worry.
Yeah, that's
because
all it is.
There's nothing actually to be worried about.
No, well, it actually reminds me of a time when I was flying. I've not ever had a fear of flying, but I was flying and we hit some really horrible turbulence. And the reason this is funny is because we've done a podcast on curiosity, and I sat there thinking, I'm kind of curious about what will happen if the plane goes down. That was my thought. I wasn't, oh my God, I'm going to die, because I had no evidence I was going to die. I went back to curiosity, which was really interesting. But what I would say, because it's very easy to talk about not worrying,
really
and
easy.
Actually much harder to do, and it would be awful for people to think, well, how on earth do you stop worrying? So the first thing, of course, is recognising that worry is a story in your head. That is the first thing to recognising that. And that you're never going to stop those stories. So the story of my daughter being in the woods in Durham, I couldn't have stopped that story if I'd tried. And in fact, if I'd really tried to stop it, I'd have probably engaged with it even more. It's like you were saying about getting attached to the thought. So the skill is to recognise that right now you have no evidence of any of that happening. And then to give your attention to what you're doing now. And we use a little acronym called WIN, what's important now.
Oh, I like
so
that.
If my mind is making up a story about something that might happen in 3 weeks' time, maybe I've got to take a flight, so it's a good example, and I'm anxious about flying and all I can think about is flying, I'm missing what's happening right now. So, because my mind is somewhere else. And people talk about that. They talk about sleepwalking through their lives, don't they? That they're not really present. Their mind is somewhere else. Worry is like your mind is somewhere else in a nightmare. Not a nice fantasy. I mean, fine if, you're in Morrison's and actually you're dreaming about being on a beach in the Bahamas. So you probably forget your key shopping and stuff like that or whatever. But when that story in your head is a nightmare, bring your attention to right here and now. So, and there are a number of things you can do to help with that. So you can do a running commentary of what you're doing. That's a really helpful strategy. And actually, if you do your advanced driving, you're required to do a running commentary of your drive to prove that your mind is present in the car. And then if you pass your advanced driving, you get a reduction on your insurance because you have fewer accidents. So let alone it stopping you worrying and stressing, it'll probably keep you safer to keep your mind present. And this is a habit. So it's really important to practice and to help. So you can do a running commentary. You can come to your senses. It's a lovely expression. Thank you, Derek Roger. So you can talk about coming to your sense of listening, because so if you're listening to this podcast, just listen to the words that are being said. I mean, if you're driving, also please concentrate on the road, but listen to the words that are being said.
Yeah.
And it gives your mind something to focus on and stops it making up stories about things it doesn't know.
Is that the same as then just noticing what you observe in the room, or what you observe, so you come to your senses of sight, that what you can see?
I think the thing about visual cues is that they're quite stimulating.
Right.
So you might look at things and it triggers other thoughts, whereas listening, you can just focus on the words. There's a thing called rapid repeat.
Right.
So you're not actually attributing any meaning to it, you're just repeating it. So, and touch is also a good one.
Yeah.
They use that with PTSD treatment. It's grounding. It just brings you to now. So, you know, there's a pillow here that's sort of velvety.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
I'm quite warm. I can notice the seam. And that is literally, that's grounding me in the here and now. So what's important now, doing a running commentary of what you're doing, rapid repeating what you're hearing.
Yeah.
These are things that just give your brain an anchor in the present rather than letting it run off and make up a horror story.
Yeah.
And practice this when there's no pressure, because it's harder when the pressure's on to learn a new skill. So if you can practice these things all the time, just as you go about your daily life, when the pressure is on, it's a natural skill.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that's been really helpful for me was the idea that I'm making up disaster movies in my head. That was really helpful, because in the same way that I started to think it's about not attaching to that for me, because in the same way that, like, I watch Harry Potter, I'm not particularly worried about Voldemort. Do you know, like in my real life? Like, you know, I've watched Stranger Things.
Behind that door, you know.
Yeah. I've watched Stranger Things. The Upside Down isn't freaking me out in my real life. You know, I can watch those things unfolding and enjoy them, if you like.
Yeah.
But I'm not worried about them because they're not real.
Yeah.
And in the same way, the disaster movies I'm making up in my head, being able to recognise that it's not real, it's not actually happening. And even in moments where, I suppose the example in my life would be that when my wife had cancer and she was having chemo treatment, and then there were moments after that, and I called them cancer wobbles, which is where something might happen and I'd be driving along and I'd have a sudden thought about, what if it comes back, or what if this happens? And it always starts with the word what if, and what if, and this is how I recognise it. Yeah. It never starts with when. No. It just starts with what if, and that's the trigger for me. So if I have a what if thought,
brilliant,
I'm able to go, hang on, that's just me creating a disaster movie. It's not happening. It's not real. It's not the Upside Down. It's not Hogwarts. No. It's not real. So I'm going to come back to the moment and be in the moment. And what I tend to find is what you've shared is in this current moment, present moment, there is absolutely nothing to be worried about. No. If there was something to be worried about, I'd be in fight or flight.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's nothing to be worried about. And that, for me, that's how I've worked with my own worries, to keep continually coming back to the present moment, to the present moment. So everything the tips you're giving, I think are perfect. And that's how it's worked out for me. But the detaching from the disaster movie, from the thought, and being able to go, it's as unreal as Hogwarts, as unreal as Middle Earth or the Upside Down, has enabled me to go, okay, off you go, thought, let me come back to the present moment. That's been really, really helpful for me.
Yeah. And I think, I'm not sure where I'm going with this thought. Detachment is something that's really important and often really misunderstood. So I think that's worth talking about in the context of worry, because when people hear the word detachment, they kind of think about being disconnected. Right. Whereas detachment is not about disconnecting. It's about being able to take that step back. It's about being able to keep that perspective. And I think that's really important, because we use the word in the training we do. We talk about detached compassion. Right. Derek talks about 4 steps to stress-free living, which is to wake up, in other words, to have your mind present, to control your attention. So you decide what you give your attention to, and your attention just doesn't run away and do its own thing. To detach, which is about that being able to step back and see the bigger picture, as you've just brilliantly highlighted. Right now, this minute, there's nothing to worry about. I mean, we could start thinking about our journeys home. We could start thinking, I wonder if, there's going to be a hold up on the Humber Bridge or whatever, or, is there going to be a traffic jam? Am I going to be late to my next meeting? But that's not happening right now, because we're here, and it would just distract us from what we're doing. So that ability to detach and then to let go. And there's that's hard. That's hard. We hang on to things a lot. But those 4 steps and learning about those are really the key to not worrying and not being stressed. But I want to come back to 2 things, because you were talking about your wife having had cancer, and she's still with us, and she's well and
really well. Yeah, really good.
That's a huge life event, and that's almost, we can talk about day-to-day stress on the one hand and post-traumatic stress at the other end of the continuum, and I'd say the cancer under being diagnosed, going through treatment, is down towards the life-threatening end of the continuum. But these strategies that we're talking about work in both ways. So it's not just about, am I going to worry about the traffic, the drive home, which is completely pointless because I have no idea what the traffic's going to be like. But I was thinking about your example of your wife, and I had a foster daughter for 8 years who very sadly didn't survive 2.5 years of cancer treatment. But I'm going to tell this story as a tribute to her, because if she could do this in her circumstances, I want it to give hope, and her name was Hope, to people who were listening. So she'd got her diagnosis, she'd had surgeries, and she started chemo, and her first set of chemo involved her being in hospital for a week undergoing chemo, which was hell, undoubtedly absolute hell. She did so well. And it may have been the 2nd or 3rd round, which is often the worst, and she came home and she was up in her room, and I got up to see her, and she was sobbing. And she just said to me, Jo, I can't go back and do another round of chemo in 3 weeks. I can't do it. And very gently, we just worked through the fact that right now, that minute, she was in her bedroom with her dog, with me, with all her familiar things around her, and she wasn't in chemo. And the risk of her spending the next 3 weeks in chemo in her head was really high and hideous. Can you imagine that all the time your head is just filled with being back in this horrible, horrible experience and missing the fact, we were talking, it was like July time, August, the weather was lovely. We had lots of other things that we could do. She tolerated chemo incredibly well, actually. I didn't want her to be in chemo for the 3 weeks she wasn't there. How awful. She was going through enough torture as it was, so, and she, because she was extraordinary, managed to bring her mind back to the present and to go, do you know what, if it goes off to chemo, I'm just going to detach from that and focus on what's important now.
Amazing.
And if she can do that in those circumstances, then we can do that when we're worrying about whether they've got our favourite toothpaste in the supermarket, or whether or not the traffic's going to be okay on the way home, or the train's on time,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I really hope people can take something from that. And she had to practice, and I helped her, obviously that's part of my role as her mum and as a psychologist, and it does take practice, but if she can do it, anyone can.
Jo, thank you so much for sharing that. It's such an amazing example of it.
Yeah.
And thanks for this conversation, because actually I've been sat here as part of this podcast, but actually learning so much and shifting my thinking on worry and anxiety and stress and whatever else we want to call it.
There's so much more we could talk about. So maybe we'll have a part 2 to this at some point.
I think we maybe should, but thank you.
Okay. Shall we add another couple of tips, do you think? Or just summarise what we've done, just to leave people with... What would be your top tip?
Come back to the moment. Detach. Come back to the moment. Recognise a thought is just a thought. Yeah. That's all that's happening. It's not real.
And mine would be, what's important now? Use that as your mantra. We have a mantra when we drive, don't we? Mirror signal manoeuvre, life-saving. We say it and say it and say it until we know it, and now we drive our cars. We don't even think about it, but we mirror signal manoeuvre. Yeah. What's important now? Same. Practice, practice, practice. And eventually it will become second nature.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Cheers, John.